Hi everybody, and welcome to Josiah is Right, and I'm going to talk to you today about the history of Mighty Max. Mighty Pen. Polly Pocket, maybe. Before we even mention Mighty Max, we have to talk about his sassy older sister, Polly Pocket. Sister toy line, that is. Chris Wiggs first created Polly Pocket in 1983 for his daughter Kate, using an actual makeup compact to create a tiny house for an even more tiny doll. He licensed it to English toy company Bluebird Toys, and Polly Pocket was released in 1989. With Polly Pocket selling tiny people hand over fist, why not monster heads? In an effort to cash in on kids just like me, Mighty Max was born. Released in the US by Mattel, the original toy lines included Horror Heads and Doom Zones. The toys are gnarly looking playsets that opened up to reveal some kind of adventure therein, with the exterior reflecting the monster or doom within the playset. The sets always included Max and some kind of setting-related creature. Frankenstein's monster, snakes, things like that, scorpion creatures. You get the gist. The deep and intricate plot for the toys told us that Max inherited his dad's hat, which warped him to these various nether regions. He was a 90s kid, so he had to put it on sideways to look cool. And it actually said that on the box, with Max saying it out loud, so you know he's cool if he says it. The story came to us via comics on the box itself. The original Max's hat would change color based on the zones he morphed into, and Max was a more squat figure as he was presented as more of a kid. In 1993, the world got a gritty, dark, and at times downright scary cartoon. Max was now a bit more grown up, and the figure turned from a chubby little boy to a slender teen, and Max's iconic red hat would remain iconically red. Playsets were also added to reflect plots from the show. The cartoon changed the story by adding the Yoda-like chicken, Virgil.
And I'm a fowl, not a chicken.
Virgil is really a brilliant device for an exposition machine in the show. He explains all the crazy Egyptian backstory that shouldn't make any sense, but you buy it from the chicken, fowl. There's the stoic but not so stoic bodyguard Norman, voiced by my personal favorite character from Night Court. Max himself was voiced by Rob Paulson, who voiced, well, everyone you love from every cartoon ever, and still does. The show was produced by Film Roman, most famous for The Simpsons, but before that, they made their bones with kid shows like Garfield. The show was actually created by Rob Hudnut and Mark Zaslav, the latter who had previously worked on some of the iconic Disney afternoon shows, including Tailspin. The first show aired on September of 1993, and begins with Max getting a bird statue, which contains the hat for some reason. The cap then sends him places, including Skullmaster's lair, the main antagonist for the show, voiced by the ever-menacing Tim Curry. Come on, he's this guy? And this guy? Even as this guy, he's still totally scary. The show follows Max, Virgil, and Norman as they travel through the world and history, allowing for semi-educational epilogues to the shows. The show was lighthearted but heavy and violent, at least implied violence. This, with a superb voice cast, elevated the show beyond the quality of the cheap 90s cost-cutting animation. 40 episodes later, the show ended in the second season with a time-bendingly beautiful and tragic finale. Besides the toys, in 1994, McDonald's released a Happy Meal line which included a fixed Max, meaning he was part of the playset, permanently so. 1994 also saw a totally forgettable game released for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. There was a Tiger handheld game, which I'm sure rivals the other games for their terribleness. Unfortunately. Micro toys boomed in the early and mid-90s. Just about every major toy line had some kind of miniature version. Certainly not a new idea, but by the mid-90s everything seemed smaller in a good way. The appeal to a kid is simple. You get more stuff for very little. A toy industry analyst said in a 1993 New York Times article, "If you reduce the scale of a product, you can get a bigger environment in a small space and can have more items. This is the whole mystique of Mighty Max and Polly Pocket, wonderfully complex environments in a small space." It also made business sense. In the same New York Times article, then editor of Playthings magazine, kind of a dubious title if you ask me, said, "The buzz in the industry this year is good value at affordable prices. Some manufacturers have dropped expensive toys that they announced at the beginning of the year. There is a big emphasis on toys under $20. The financial value appealed to parents, and the play value appealed to kids. As a kid with very much limited funds, Mighty Max filled that void. Granted, he was very quickly pushed aside as Galoob created amazing miniature sets for their Star Wars Micro Machines line, which I'm sure was true beyond my own toy chest. In 1993, with the help of the cartoon, Max's sales peaked. In 94 and 95, they began to decline exponentially. With the line dead and other issues, I assume, Bluebird Toys, along with Max and Polly, would be eaten up by He-Man. I mean Mattel in 1998.
I have the power.
From Mattel.
While Max hasn't been heard from since the mid-90s, Polly Pocket was produced in the United States until 2012, and other parts of the world until 2015, with Brazil being the last holdout. Brazil really holds on to things, don't they? Polly Pocket was relaunched in 2018. Hopefully she'll make Mattel Skull Mountain-sized stacks of money, and we'll get a Mighty Max reboot. The reboot we truly deserve. Thank you guys for watching. So these histories are part of a series. So you can see the short form ones that I do with myself and Penny here, and the longer form ones where I'll have this history attached to a longer part where Paul and I talk about our personal experience with the toys, a little bit of background that we know, things like that. So be sure to check those out. Penny will like them because she can grow up playing with some awesome, awesome toys, right? Thank you guys. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and Penny and I will see you at the toy store.